Okay, so if you've been paying attention for the race to become the next Democratic nominee for President of the United States, a question is starting to circulate around. Is Joe Biden really so electable? So let's analyze. Keep in mind, okay, it isn't Joe Biden versus any person you can think up. It is probably most likely Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren. It's binary. As far as I can tell, this may change, and if it changes, I'll bring a different analysis. But those are the two most likely candidates, most likely people to become the nominee for President of the United States. So it's not is Joe Biden completely electable? The question is, who is more electable, Joe Biden or Elizabeth Warren? To me, that answer is 100% obvious, but let's break it down. As I've said in some of my past videos, the idea of electability is a little bit of a farce because, again, the choice is binary. It's electable versus Donald Trump. It isn't electable versus anybody you can think of. It's are they electable versus Donald Trump. But it's also who is more electable versus Donald Trump, Elizabeth Warren or Joe Biden. Again, the answer is pretty obviously Joe Biden. Why? If you follow politics even a little bit, even a little closely, okay, you can predict there are about 42 or 41 states in the United States of America that you could probably pick with 100% accuracy. If the choice were between Elizabeth Warren and Donald Trump, who are they going to vote for? New York, Elizabeth Warren. California, Elizabeth Warren. Georgia, Donald Trump. Mississippi, Donald Trump. So you're really only talking about a small section of the states that could go either way, that are neither red state nor blue state. Everybody knows this, and they're the ones that the candidates are actually competing for. Of those states, essential for Donald Trump to win or the Democrat to win, the essential battleground in those states that are going to be up for grabs: Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio. Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio. Joe Biden is 100% more palatable, relatable, and most importantly, marketable to Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. Joe Biden has a shtick, okay? Joe Biden has a shtick as a politician. I am regular guy Joe, down-to-earth Joe, working class Joe. I'm from Scranton, Pennsylvania, and I took a train to work for 20 years of my life. I'm just like you, regular guy. You know, let's grab a couple cold ones and go watch the Phillies game. That's his shtick, okay? Here's the thing. It's not a shtick. It's not a shtick at all. It's an actual observable reality of who he really is. It's authentic. It's 100% who he actually is. It's thoroughly believable. Why? Because it's really who he is. It's not a shtick. It's something that in politics people recognize as gold, and he has a lot of it. It's called relatability and guy next door quality. He has tons of it, and it's not a shtick. It's real. It's not a shtick. And he's 100% of him and Elizabeth Warren, he's 100% more relatable to the key battleground states. Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio. His I'm Joe Lunch Pail working class guy isn't a shtick, and is thoroughly marketable in those particular battleground states. He'll be 100 times more palatable to them than Elizabeth Warren, who will be to them an anomaly. Someone they won't easily recognize and easily like. Remember, the battleground states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio, they aren't, Berkeley, San Francisco, and Massachusetts. Elizabeth Warren would be more popular there, or Greenwich Village. Elizabeth Warren would be more popular there. Talking about the battleground states in the middle of the country, and Joe Biden is 100 times more marketable in those places than Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren knows this. And she's not that deft of a politician. She's a kind of a bad one, actually, a flat-footed one. And she even tried to maneuver her way around this before she entered the race, and it was disastrous. I don't know if any of you saw it. Google the Elizabeth Warren Beer Summit. I don't even know what she was trying to accomplish. Because she actually wound up underscoring her own, I swear to God, she pretty much underscored for you just how not much of a regular person she is. She did this like, I really like a beer. And it was so not believable. It was so inauthentic. It was laughable. And it actually underscored, her I'm from another planet persona. It was obvious what she was trying to do, and it wound up blowing in her face, and it kind of underscored the reality that she's from Mars. I'm just like you. I enjoy cold beverages too. Let us go have a brewski. I mean, that's what it really played like, honest to God. I have a friend in right here locally in Pasadena, a friend of mine from college. And, most of the people I know from my past, from my high school and my college are left-wing, almost routinely. Really, usually liberals pretty through and through. He will vote for Elizabeth Warren if it's Elizabeth Warren versus Donald Trump. And he was like, he called me up, he's like, I can't even believe this. It was so bad, it was so embarrassing. If your weakness is you aren't relatable to the average Joe, okay, you should kind of try to maneuver around that. She did the exact opposite. She put it right here, right in front of your face, and showed you, look, I can't even be passably a regular human being. I look like I'm from Mars when I'm talking about something that regular people do all the time, which is grab a cold one. I swear to God, that's what it played like, If I put it this way, if Joe Biden, it wouldn't surprise me if Joe Biden actually spent this last weekend drinking beers and watching games with his friends. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Why? Because it really is part of who he is. And it's actually really is marketing gold in politics. If Joe Biden, as I said in the last video on Joe Biden, if he exuded competence, Joe Biden has a realistic chance of beating Donald Trump. Kind of, sort of, so does Elizabeth Warren, because as I said, there are certain states that are going to vote for her no matter what. She starts off with something like 180 electoral votes right from the start. And you're just competing over the battleground states. So electability is not really, it's electability versus Joe Biden. It's not really a real quality of its own. But, okay, so Joe Biden has a theme that he is working on that I think is actually the right theme, and it's a powerful theme, and it could potentially take him over the finish line versus Donald Trump. Is a return to normalcy in politics. I'm the safe bet. I'm the person who's going to bring us back to, even if you're a supporter of Trump, I pointed this out in the past. The biggest weakness of Donald Trump is that he is Trumpian in all things he does, and he never disguised the fact. So even if you're a supporter of Donald Trump, you are sometimes stressed out by his antics. Even supporters are like, I support what he's doing, but I wish he'd stop tweeting, or I wish he'd stop saying stupid stuff, or wish he'd stop doing X. So that's a really good political argument. I will be a sane, stable choice and return us to a sense where we can, I think that's a really powerful argument for his candidacy. I really do. I honestly do. So I think that's a workable strategy. Now, Elizabeth Warren, if she were to get the nomination, is going to be running against Donald Trump. And as I pointed out with her beer summit, is going to do these weird things to make her look even worse. And she's going to do these weird, I'm from another planet, anomalous type behaviors, and Donald Trump is going to have a field day with them. Now, Donald Trump is going to have a field day with Joe Biden too, for the incompetence factor. And this is what I was trying to point out. If Joe Biden exuded competence, there are certain people who have run for elected office, and whether you voted for them or not, you didn't doubt their basic competence. I'm saying this sincerely. I don't really think Joe Biden is all that competent of a human being. I'm surprised he made it as far as he did in politics, because he doesn't strike me. He strikes me as kind of silly and goofy, and I'm saying his personality is gold, but if he doesn't exude confidence in his ability to perform an office. If he did, he'd win. If he did, he'd win, and probably win handily and easily. because Trump's antics stress out even Trump supporters. So you understand the paradigm here? If Joe Biden actually exuded competence, like let's say there are a bunch of politicians in the past. Mitt Romney, if you were hiring at a firm, would you hire this person? Would you hire Mitt Romney? Yes. Would you hire John Kerry? Yes. Would you hire who were some of the other people? Jeb Bush? Yes. I mean, he wasn't the nominee, but there are certain types of politicians who exude competence. John Kerry was one of them. If Joe Biden were that, if you had actual faith in his ability to competently perform the tasks of office, he would probably win, and win easily, and win handily. He doesn't exude competence. Let's be honest. Let's be perfectly honest. That's why there's questions about him to begin with. If he exuded competence, he walked to the nomination, and he might easily beat Donald Trump. Because the argument that he is putting forth, let's return to a sense of stability and sanity in our politics, where we're civilized and where we talk normally to one another, that's a great political argument. It's an easy to understand political paradigm, and it's probably just what a lot of people are actually looking for right now. So it could easily work. The downside for Joe Biden is that he's going to do goofy Joe Biden type things, and Trump is going to have a field day at his expense. But what I started this original video out trying to analyze, is he more electable, not than anybody under the sun, not than anybody you can think of? Is he more electable than Elizabeth Warren? Yes, especially in the key battleground states of Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. Probably 100 to 1 more electable in those states. I would say 100 to 1. If I were a real Democratic like power broker right now, I would be 100% pimping for Joe Biden to win the nomination. I'd have some reservations about him. That's what you're seeing play out in real time. Because there are some reservations about his electability based on competence. And those are real. And you factor in age and competence, and those start to become, really real. That's how I analyze it thus far. Again, binary choice. All candidates are going to have defects. The whole job of you being on one political side or another is to, paper over their defects and highlight their strengths. All candidates are going to have strengths. Elizabeth Warren, why I doubt her ability to overcome her defects is because she does one of the key terrible things to do that a terrible politician does. What? Highlights their weaknesses. All candidates have weaknesses. It'd be like if Joe Biden put out a commercial about competence. She's done it twice. She has two things that she wanted to put. Politics is often about misdirection. This is what Trump understands intuitively, and nobody else seems to really clearly understand. Politics often is about misdirection. Nobody is anybody's idea of the perfect candidate. And the fatal error in Elizabeth Warren, and she's done it twice, which tells me she will do it again, is that she zeroed in before she entered the race on the two things that were her biggest weakness, to make sure her biggest weakness became a big story for a period of about 10 days. The Indian thing and her lack of relatability. Both times, she put those front and center and made commercials about them, put them front and center. She didn't have to do that. That tells me she has a very, very bad grasp of politics. Terrible political instincts. If Joe Biden put out a commercial saying, defending his lack of competence, I'd say, give it up, Joe. Honestly, I'd say, give it up, Joe. Because that's exactly what she kind of did. So, that's how I analyze the race thus far. I still say it's Joe Biden's nomination to lose. Is it possible he will lose that nomination? Yes. Is he more electable out of Elizabeth Warren and him? 100 times more electable as far as I'm concerned. You talk about Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio. I say he's 100 times more palatable in those particular states, and those are the important states. No, he doesn't sell all that. He doesn't play all that well in California and New York. It doesn't matter. Why? Because they'll vote for him. They're blue states. He doesn't need them. How are you going to sell Elizabeth Warren in Pennsylvania? She's not going to go down well there. That's the point. So, we'll see how it plays out. You know, as always, wild card in all of this is Trump and Trump's antics, and what is Trump going to do? Because that's as always that's the real question. I really don't think Elizabeth Warren is going to do well against Trump and his Trumpian behavior. I really don't. I don't. She doesn't strike me as particularly street smart or deft at all. At all. Opposite. And you have to be with Trump. You know, he's innovative. If you don't like Donald Trump, you know, he's innovative and he does weird things that throw people off. So that's how I see it thus far. Of those particular two, Joe Biden is by far the most electable. As of right now, I don't foresee anybody else getting the nomination. That could change if somebody starts gaining, coming on strong, and doing the right things. But as of right now, I see it as those two. It's between those two. And of those two, he is by far the more electable of those two, although he has very obvious defects and weaknesses. So, there you have it. That is my analysis thus far, kids. You know, read it and weep. Read it and weep. Well, you're not reading it. Listen to it and be strong. At least listen to it and think clearly. Think clearly about the election you are about to see play out on your TV screens and on your tablets in real time and on your phones in real time and place. Think clearly. Amen.